عما يتساءلون عن النبأ العظيم الذي هم فيه مختلفون كلا سيعلمون ثم كلا سيعلمون بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم عما يتساءلون عن النبأ العظيم الذي هم فيه مختلفون كلا سيعلمون ثم كلا سيعلمون ألم نجعل الأرض مهادا والجبال أوتادا وخلقناكم أزواجا وجعلنا نومكم سباتا وجعلنا الليل لباسا وجعلنا النهار معاشا وبنينا فوقكم سبعا شدادا وجعلنا سراجا وهاجا وأنزلنا من المعصرات ماء ثجاجا لنخرج به حبا ونباتا وجنات ألفافا إن يوم الفصل كان ميقاتا صدق الله العلي العظيم صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين حبيب إله العالمين أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وعلى آله الأطيبين المنتجبين الهداة المهديين المعصومين المكرمين سيما بقية الله في العالمين. We continue with the topic of marriage, inshallah, this week. See where we go. Just to recap, we said that marriage in Islam, it's a very important, holy contract. And we said that there are so many blessings for getting married and so many bad things for not getting married. Some things are blessings, but if you don't do it, there's not a lot of bad things. But marriage is good to get married and it's bad not to get married. We said that Islam has emphasized on marriage a lot. Perhaps we should mention this, that or maybe I should ask people, see what your opinion is, what do you understand? Is marriage wajib or not? Is it wajib? If someone can, is wajib? Yeah? Well, I suppose you can say if the way that in fiqh is explained, they say if you think you may commit haram, then becomes wajib. This is like, telling somebody, well, you should have some water with you, and they say, why? Say it's necessary. Yeah, in case you get thirsty. But of course you get thirsty. I mean, if you're going out in a hot day, and your mother says, take some water with you, and then they say, why? Because in case you get thirsty. But for sure you're going to get thirsty if you're going to be working outside in the heat. So marriage is wajib on anybody who may have, not definitely, may have a risk of committing haram, which means everybody. So practically it's wajib on everybody. I mean, unless somebody say, like, this guy, he's fine because he's had just an operation, he's lying on the bed in hospital, one leg is in the air, just hanging, and the head is just under, it's so much bandage, and they're sticking a needle every 5 minutes, and he just falls asleep and wakes up. So, okay, for him, we can maybe say, maybe not wajib. But it's wajib on everybody normally living in daily life. Now, we said that there are certain things in this life that shaitan works on them a lot. If you wanted to find out what is the value of anything, one of the ways actually is in the rawat. We had this topic of shaitan and shaitan's trick and everything, knowing shaitan. Or maybe we should make a word for the shaitanology. This shaitanology that we had, or Satanology, I don't know. We had this topic for Muharram. One Muharram, we talked about this topic for 10, 11 nights. And one of the things that even the Anbiya, alayhim salam, learned from Shaitan is that they asked Shaitan, Where are those places that you work the best? Or what's your, for example, hardest trick that others cannot tolerate? Where do you work the best? Those places, if you find, and if you're doing something in that line, for sure something is going to go wrong. Something is going to come against it. We want to go, for example, if you, na'udhu billah, somebody wants to commit sin, he wants to go to these places, at nightclub or whatever, and they want to commit sin, they do it on a regular basis, no problem. The moment you want to do something good, you want to go, for example, a protest against killing innocent people, you want to do jama'ah, anything you want to do, something comes. The moment you want to pray, other thoughts come to your mind. You sit there and you want to watch a movie, no other thoughts come to your mind. You watch the movie and somebody says, what were you thinking? You said, nothing. I was watching the movie, which means you've been concentrating on the movie. If somebody says, while you were watching the movie, what are the other thoughts that came to your mind? Nothing. I don't even know how time passed. 1.5 hours I've been sitting here, and it just went so quickly. But the moment we want to pray for 5 minutes, every 4 rak'ah, it takes 4 minutes. 4 rak'ah for 4 minutes, you want to concentrate? Every single thought that you do not even think about it on a regular basis comes to your mind. This is because Shaitan doesn't want you to do that. And there's an influence, both from the Shaitan externally, which is Satan and Satan's army, and internally from nafs. Both these will really work. One of the places that Shaitan works very much from the start to the end is marriage. Why? Because it's one of the biggest weapons against Shaitan. As the Ruwaya says, there's no establishment, there is no establishment in Islam holier than marriage. And what do people think about marriage? When they want to find somebody to get married, they commit sins. Now, I'm not talking about everybody, or no disrespect to people here, but this is a very norm thing you see. People want to get married, they commit sin. They look at non-mahram. They go places that they're not supposed to. Lots of people nowadays, they want to get married, they go to places that they aren't supposed to go. So it starts with haram. They see each other, and this is, I'm talking about the Muslims, forget about non-Muslims. They see each other until the day that they actually officially go and they recite the khutbah of becoming husband and wife, they commit haram. Talking to each other when they're not supposed, the way they're not supposed to talk to each other. They're seeing each other the way they're not supposed to see each other. Then they want to get married. You see that like the way you were going to pray, the moment you sit and they talk, this is the session that we want to ask for somebody's hand. It's about marriage. Everybody's so happy. Yes, fantastic. But they say, gossip starts, backbiting starts. People say bad things about each other. They start becoming, suddenly the eyes become like telescope. The same eyes that they could not see. Sometimes we want to talk to people for health. We say, look, didn't you see that? Didn't you think about that? Didn't you consider this is bad for you? Didn't you know that this is not something you should do? They don't listen. No, sorry, we didn't pay attention. But when it comes to marriage, everybody becomes telescope. Did you see the color of his socks? Say, no, I didn't. Well, they were white. Okay, what's wrong with white? Out of fashion. Obviously, he's not a very fashionable person. Or the other way, I don't know, white is fashionable. Maybe it's the other way actually is fashionable. I'm just giving an example. They see things that they're not supposed. Did you see the way he looked at that guy? What's wrong with that? What did you do? Oh no, I know what he meant. I know why she did that. I know why she said that word. Everybody becomes fussy. It's exactly what happens with good things. We want to do good things, everybody becomes so satanic. And then the problem starts. Then, inshallah, alhamdulillah, everything goes well. They go to get married. Wa alaikum assalam. They start the preparation for wedding. Suddenly, everybody is different character. The same person that until yesterday didn't care about lots of things, now everything matters. On the day of wedding, on the night that they have the gathering, oh, it's okay. We play that music, is all right. Oh, we do that sort of thing, is okay. One night doesn't matter. Shaitan tells you, commit sin. You'll be fine. It's just one night. It's just once. Go for it. My brothers and sisters, the contract that is so holy, the contract that Allah has direct intervention in it, the contract that is supposed to be the biggest weapon against shaitan, the contract that is supposed to make the holiest establishment in religion, every single steps becomes sin and sin and sin. And then what do you expect from this? You expect that this contract becomes the most successful marriage? Of course not. When they asked Imam Ali alayhi salam, how good is Fatima salamullah alayha as a wife? He said that she is the best servant of Allah. Ni'mal aun is the best helper fi ta'atillah. The best helper if you want to obey Allah. This was my introduction to number one that we want to talk about. Number one that is very important to marriage, to anybody who wants to get married, and even after that, even people who are married now. Number one is your direction, my brothers and sisters. Where is your direction? Do you have a direction or not? If you don't, get it. If you do, look at it, see if the right direction or not. Now, husband and wife would do okay, because lots of things can happen in marriage and you can fix them as long as direction is correct. In our religion, the one that we ask the most, what kind of dua we ask the most? We have talked about this many times. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم is to get something. Are you asking to get something? Or no, it's about direction. It's about direction. So اهدنا الصراط المستقيم means make sure that I stay in the right direction. Because inshallah you are on the sirat. You just have to, in the sirat you have to get the direction. Otherwise you are at least somewhere on that sirat, on that path. Direction is correct, you'll be fine. The person that gets married and his or her absolute desire and target and ultimate goal is pleasure in this world. They're just after pleasure. How are you going to get this person to commit to certain things? And then you get somebody else that is not the only thing in his life or her life. And you want to match these two together. And you know what Shaitan does? Tricks people. He says, you know what? Don't worry, you'll be fine. You know, once upon a time, it still is in many people's mind. I've seen that quite often. They say, it's okay, you get married, you'll be fine. You'll fix her. You know? This is an old thing that they used to say to people, that you will fix her. You know why? Because the girls got married at the age of 12. You know? The girl was so young when went to the husband's house, and the husband was like 5-10 years at least older than her. So eventually she grew up in that system and basically got the direction the husband wanted. Even that wasn't perfect. Yes? Nowadays, they are at age of 30, they just decide that they want to get married. They decide that they want to get married at the age of 30. And then you expect them to change. Absolute nonsense. Yes, maybe inshallah, some percentage people can change. A percentage, very small percentage of people. Not just percentage of people, small percentage of the same person. Like you as a good person that is ready to change, you may change 10%, 20%, if you are very good in change. And even that is very little. So like a person who is happy to change, you can't find easily. So you have to think that people don't change. That should be your standard. And later on, you committed to marriage, then you are going to change, no problem. She's going to change, he's going to change, it's okay. But before that, your target should be that people do not change. And this is where the direction comes. If our direction is correct, we change. Look at your own life. You have changed things in your life when the direction mattered to you. If something really matters to us, then we change. Once upon a time, you were young and you didn't bother getting up early morning and doing morning prayers. You got older, it mattered to you, you started praying. You got up early and make sure you prayed. You got a bit older, then, or at the same time, you committed to, for example, religious things. You got a bit older, for example, people who got married, they wanted to basically do something for their family and provide for their family. That providing meant a lot to them. They changed themselves. They changed their career, they changed the things that they couldn't do before, they managed to do. Mothers, look at the girls that become eventually wives and mothers. When they become mothers, they do lots of things they didn't do before. Why? Because they really want that. Because they really care about what they're doing. Now, as long as the direction is correct, you're going to care about that marriage and the other person, and you can do something about it. Even that, don't expect too much. If they're going to change a little bit, fantastic. So in our life, if we are going to decide on anything and build anything, because it says is establishment, yeah, you want to build something. The terminology that's been used in the riwayah for marriage is establishment, which means you've got to build it. You've got to get the right direction. Is a building going this way and they plan everything for it? And second, get the right material. We talked about one of the topics, and we said inshallah we'll elaborate on that later, and that was the topic of matching with each other. Being a good match, which they call it kufwa. You have to be a good match for each other. Now, being a good match for each other, there are lots of factors there. Yes? Let's see if we wake you up. Give us some factors that you think matters. Last time they gave us some matters. See some factors. See if you can give me more factors that matter. Last time they said piety, didn't they? Where is Rayyan? Where is he? Is he coming? Okay. What else matters for marriage? Respect. Okay, so the respect is one thing out of that akhlaq that we said last time. You're right. It's part of that. You're absolutely right. Respect is very important part of akhlaq. What did you say? Look. Yeah, the look. Yeah, that's right. We said look before as well. So we said how they look. Okay? Beauty. Marriage, for marriage. You want to find somebody, for example, inshallah, tomorrow somebody can ask for your daughter's almost there, aren't they?
Faith.
Yeah?
How about the faith?
Faith?
Religion.
Oh, faith, okay. Faith, yes. Faith as religion, okay. Yes, of course. But we said piety, we meant obviously faith as well. Faith as degree of, basically. When you say piety is sort of higher. But of course, we are assuming that you're not getting somebody who's like you're religious and somebody comes, for example, that is from another religion or from another sect or from different sort of values. Of course, that's very important. Yeah. But after that, what else would you consider? Education as type of something for kufr. That matters. We're not saying that everybody should be perfect, but you've got to be careful, because if there is a huge gap there, either of those, it could be either, but usually, especially if the man education is less than woman, might be a problem. Not because they cannot communicate, it's because there are circumstances that the man is too proud to really accept that situation. So which means that he starts avoiding. For example, the lady has a dinner with her friends, her university friends or her colleagues at work, and they're all PhD and above. And the guy hasn't done a lot of studies or anything in education, so he feels left out. So he starts actually distancing himself from that sort of situation, and that could be from even, for example, social status as well, not just education, social status. If there are people who care about certain things, some people care about, for example, the superficial thing, like how beautiful their clothes are, how beautiful their sofas look like, and things like that. Some people care about these things a lot. If one of you is caring about that a lot and the other side is not, then it becomes a problem. Or for example, clothing. That sometimes is a standard. In some families, I tell you even about not just families, countries. Like when you come, for example, from countries like from Iran, I don't think many people come out with shorts, do they? Maybe now they're more modern and they may, but almost nobody, you see nobody with shorts ever in your life. And then you come to Australia, it's the first thing you see, some people with thongs and shorts and a t-shirt, and that's like a norm for most of the times. It might be a shock. Imagine that you go and get married to somebody and the husband or wife, or for example, either of them, they have that sort of standard, the type of clothing, for example. It may sound like nothing, but it is important. What else? Reputation, of course. Reputation is very important too. I mean, sometimes it's not very fair that, let's say, for example, you got a family, I don't know, the brother doesn't have good reputation, the sister suffers. The father has a bad reputation, the daughter suffers. These things exist. But at the same time, that person who's going to the family and accepting that as a fact, you should deal with it. You should be prepared that tomorrow you want to have a relationship with this family, and if there is something that bothers you, you should be aware and accept it and go through it with open eyes. What else? Yes? Language. Worldview, yes.
Inner character.
Yes.
Inner character might have a sort of tendency to give sadaqah, the other person does, like something inner, not power.
Like the character.
Yeah.
Like is a person introvert or extrovert, or is a person that for example, as you say, generous or not generous, is a person who. But I tell you, lots of these things, if you have the right direction, like a person that by nature is not very generous, when because he becomes religious, automatically he does increase in that generosity. Yes, well, depends if you are considering worldview as something separate from religion or not.
So now these worldviews changed to this is my effort. I want this.
Yeah.
They became general. What I'm looking at.
Yes. So you're saying that and that's true. Let me just give you an example, and inshallah, because we don't have a lot of time, every time there's so much to talk about. This is true. An example of that is the example of the marriage between Zayd and Zainab. You know the story, yeah? Everybody knows the story of the time of Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, this famous story of marriage between Zayd and Zainab. Zayd ibn Thabit and Zainab bint Jahsh. Yes? Everybody knows? So, this story is in Quran. Yes? Zayd is the only Sahabi that his name is mentioned in Quran because of this story. This is the only Sahabi that his name has been mentioned in Quran. Zainab bin Jahsh is the cousin of Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Yes? And she is from a family that they are very respected. In Quraysh, they are respected. Zayd, who is Zayd? Zayd was a servant, basically slave. He was a slave at a very young age. Very young age. In a way that he had nothing. He was very young and a slave at the same time. Then Khadija Salamullah alayha bought him and gave him to Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam as a gift. Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam freed him, but kept him because he was young, he needed support, as like his own son. Like adopted, that sort of thing. So Zayd had nothing. Had no social status, wasn't rich, and this is now after Islam. But Zainab and Zayd are both religious. They both accept Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam as the Prophet. And the person who found, and this is another point. You know, if you guys, somebody says, be the mediator for a marriage. Many of us, we say, no. I don't want trouble. Why? Because you say, if something goes wrong, they point the finger at me saying that it was his fault. It was your fault. But the Prophet ﷺ was the mediator between the marriage between Zayd and Zainab. So Zayd was recommended by the Prophet ﷺ. To who? To Zainab. And Zainab didn't want to accept it. First refused. But for the sake of Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, she accepted. Now they got married. From day one they had problem. And they went to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam many times. So their counselor was the Prophet. He was the mediator between them. So like the best counseling service you can get, huh? Despite of that, they failed and they divorced. And that their divorce is in Quran. Yes? So this is a very important message, which says, I mean, what was wrong with them is written in the history. Some issues. For example, one of the issues with Zainab was the fact that she always thought that she was higher than Zayd. She had better social status. She was from a maybe richer family. She was more respected in the society. So she always thought, she considered herself better than Zayd. So that was a problem. And there were other problems. Even Zayd had some problems. But that itself says that just for the sake of your name being a Muslim or being a Shia or being whatever the status that you carry, doesn't mean that you're going to be fine in your marriage. It doesn't mean if this person was introduced by one of the most reliable people you can find. You cannot find more reliable than the Prophet ﷺ. So you cannot still be 100% guaranteed that your marriage is 100% successful. 3, it does not mean that you're going to fix it and we'll be fine, we'll change. No. It proves no matter who is behind it, no matter how good is your counseling service, no matter how much support you have, you may fail. So don't just say, oh, I'll be fine. Lots of lessons in this marriage and divorce between Zayd and Zainab. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. We did backbiting. We said, where are you? And they were just like, said, oh, how dare he? Yeah, how dare he be late for this important lecture? Yes, time management is very important, yes. Some people are late for their own wedding ceremony as well. It's not very good, is it? Inshallah. So what we are saying is this. We said, because you said that being religious is it. We're saying that not necessarily, and maybe that worldview that you say is actually part of this, which means that these two people are religious, but they have different worldview. Yes? Like some people say that they're religious, but their religious means that they want to go to work, come home, do their prayers, eat their dinner, and sleep, and then go to work, and come back and do the same thing again and again and again, and that's it. And in Ramadan, they fast, they come to the mosque sometimes, and they recite Quran, and they feel good. And once in their life, they go to Hajj. If they are lucky and rich enough, once they go to Umrah, if they can, and that's it. That's their religion. They do basic things, and that's it. And another person says, no, I want to be ready for any moment Imam Zaman alayhi salam comes. And I'm preparing myself every single day for that moment. Get up in the morning as early as you can and work as hard as you can every single day until that day that Imam alayhi salam comes, or you die and you're hoping that you die and you get resurrected to serve for Imam alayhi salam. This is the difference. This difference makes a huge change and difference in your relationship, in your view, in what you do every day. And if you are that sort of person, getting up early, and you go and you do everything as much as you can, and the other person says, come on, it's Saturday night. And another one, come on, it's Friday night. Another night, oh, come on, it's morning, is this, is that. So basically, you got to take it easy. Because even though this person is religious, a nice person, he's honest, he's got lots of good things, but the other side wants lots of other things that this one doesn't. So maybe that's what you meant as, I don't know. I mean, when you say worldview is different to being religious, maybe in that sense is something that I understand. Is that what you meant, or there's something as a exactly? Yeah, so that's right. So you could be religious but have different worldview. That's right. Any other points? Because how much do you have until Adhan? So it's 16. Another 14 minutes. 10 more minutes. All right. So 10 more minutes for our session, and then 5 minutes for if anybody wants to make wudu or something. Yeah. Oh, so Adhan is 26 past. Oh wow. Mine is different. That's okay. All right. So we'll just do another 5 minutes of any questions, anything. Brazilians. That's right. Yes. Yes. Of course, yeah. Perseverance. I think that is probably part of what we said as well, isn't it? So it's a very important part of being like your worldview and being religious. Like, but you're absolutely right. As a single and separate entity in life, that makes a huge difference too. So the two people are religious, and their worldview might be similar as well. That both of them, they're saying that, okay, fine, we are trying for, let's say as an example, we are trying to be a soldier of Imam Mahdi alayhi salam. But one of them, his being soldier is again means that he just does the dua faraj after salah, and the other one means that he spends every single moment of his life for Imam alayhi salam. So that makes a difference. And then and then you see them in a relationship that this one gives up so easily because he says I can't. And you've seen that this sort of terminology. They say I cannot tolerate this. It's just too much. That sort of character. And you see somebody else goes through every single trouble that you can imagine, and he's fine. He says, we say, how is it going? Say, Alhamdulillah, I'm doing fine. Both of them are going, yes.
The more success you have, even if it comes down to culture, age,
yes,
more similarities.
Yes, of course. Yeah, that's right. If you're not similar, if you're not a couple for each other, then chance of losing it is more. Chance of giving up, the chance of not being able to deal with difficulty in life is less. Yes. And yes. The marriage of Zayd and Zainab, the main thing that in Quran is referring, so because this was for the abolishment of the tradition that before at the time of Jahiliyyah they had, that they considered your adopted son as your own son, which meant that the wife of that you could not marry, because later on the Rasul married Zainab. And they stopped that basically tradition because of that. So that was one of the main things. However, it does refer, even in Quran, does refer to the fact that these two had problems. So he mentions that, and the tafsir explains what the problems were and all that. Yeah. Well, you could say yes, because why is Zainab, for example, considering them like him lower in the social status, while the Prophet ﷺ considers taqwa as the best thing, as the most important thing? So yes, you could say somehow, but later on when Zainab married Rasul ﷺ, she was absolutely fine. So she was a good wife. There was no problem reported that she had with the Prophet ﷺ. So there is, yes, maybe there is a weakness, but we don't expect everybody to be perfect. Yes, Haj. Yes, yes. Yes.
Also, it's probably but you're still gonna find the struggles. And we're missing the point. This could be the test from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because everybody is created. A lot of us have some sort of a defect in us. And it could be an anger issue, it could be something, that we need to fix. So Allah will a weakness in us. So Allah will put us into this field in order to improve that. So sometimes you do your best, but you gotta meet halfway.
Yeah, so you're absolutely right, Hajj. In a practical approach, what Hajj is saying for ladies, if they didn't hear it, is that he said that, look, nobody's perfect. Marriage cannot be always perfect or never perfect. In fact, most of the time you have to compromise. Most of the time you have to consider it as a test for yourself and go along. That's absolutely right. However, we are talking about all of these things that we are saying is before marriage. Everything we're saying about how good your match should be and everything else is before marriage. After marriage, we don't talk about these things. We talk about how well you can match what you have and how we should deal with what the differences are. So the person who is looking at somebody else for marriage should consider all of these and should go through it with open eyes, see which part he wants to compromise, because you have to compromise. But later on, if they come and say, look, we got a problem, of course, we try to fix as much as possible, and everything has a solution if people want to. An important thing is that a lesson from religion is this, that which part are you supposed to compromise and which part you're not supposed to compromise, and which part is left to yourself, is your problem. If you want to compromise or not, that's fine. That's what you decide, is your decision. There are certain things that we said, and inshallah, if we had enough, looks like we need more session because there's a lot here we didn't talk about. So if those bits are the ones that you're going to compromise, go for it. But people are different. But lots of people get their relationship falls apart or get divorced. Lots of divorces is based on those things that they compromised initially. But eventually that caught up with them and became a problem. So that's something we need to know, inshallah. Okay, we don't have time. Sallallahu ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad.